for the men tomorrow.
Back at the Raleigh Civic Center in downtown.
It's a 9.60 to grab the lead past Lance Rignall right now. There he is. He qualified fourth with a 9.60 on Thursday night.
So we know definitely that he can score the 9.6 if he needs it. There's his mount, double twist to a punch front and a perfect landing. There's a nice tumbling run. Handspring, front 1 3/4, front flip. It's a unique straddle leap. It's nice to see some originality in some of the dance elements because his tumbling is definitely very strong. Front step out through the full punch front. Once again, that full to a punch front is considered a D move. Most of the gymnasts realize that it is probably not one of the most difficult D moves that you can do. But the judges do give that the D category, and so all the gymnasts are using it to fulfill that requirement.
We're hearing some inadvertent music, and normally you don't get that on the floor exercise for men, and I would assume, Bart, that they're not trying to stay with that music, as is the case with women.
Not at all. It's just music that's coming out over the PA. Here's his last tumbling. Nice. Tuck double back and one short step on the landing. That's going to score well.
C.J. Johnson, the coach there, happy with it as he talks with Patrick Kirksey out of Tucker, Georgia, and the University of Nebraska.
Okay, here's the front step out. Round off back handspring full. Now watch, right here he's going to punch front all the way around. Now that's one of those D moves, not one of the most difficult D moves being done, but at the same time it does fulfill that requirement. Round off back handspring, tuck double back. He's good position in the air and pretty tight on the landing, maybe 1/10 of a point.
There he is. He's coached by Francis Allen and Jim Howard at Nebraska, talking with C.J. Johnson right now. And Patrick's one of those that meditates a great deal. He thinks about and visualizes his performance. He gets a 9.50. That was all he needed to take the lead. He's got it. 19.10 is his cumulative. He's actually tied with Lance Rignall. He needed 9.60 to get the lead alone, but all he needed was the 9.50 to grab a share of it, and that's what he has. Now Robert Sundstrom, this is his event. 21 years old, out of San Jose, California.
Watch this mount. He's going to do a laid-out backflip with 3 twists, and he does it better than anybody in the world. Look at that. Easily done. He dropped out of the sky on that. Now here's handspring, laid out front, punch front. Oh, I can't believe he blew it on that very simple element for him.
He needed a 9.30 to grab the lead, but he's in some trouble now to get that, right, Bart?
That's really unfortunate because he was doing a nice combination layout front to a tuck front, actually a move that he can do in his sleep. He does something different than most of the other gymnasts here. He's doing basically a 5-pass tumbling routine. There's round-off whip, flip-flop, double twist, punch front. Most of the gymnasts do generally 3 very hard tumbling runs and 1 easy side pass. In Robert's case, he's doing 4 very difficult tumbling runs and 1 easy side pass. Here's his last tumbling run. This should be a tuck double back. Nice and high. Oh, a little short of rotation, but good position in the air.
He's disappointed, and you can understand why. This is his event. Many thought he was a lock, and this could open up the floor exercise competition.
Oh, absolutely. Without a doubt, I thought he had this thing totally nailed. He did the perfect triple full at the beginning. Here's the layout. It looks to me like he's over-rotated on the layout, and so he's not in proper position to make the punch front out of it.
His routine is a good example of something.
Here's the round-off whip. Flip-flop, double full. Really nice combination tumbling. Whip back, flip-flop, double full, right to a punch front. Really well done. And of course, his last tumbling run was a tuck double back, which he usually does off the ceiling. But I have to admit that he has to be down a little bit right here because he knows that he blew it right early in the exercise. And I think he realized he gave away too many important points early on to really win this thing.
Robert Sundtrom, who had a 9.80 as a preliminary, gets only the 9.15. And now his cumulative score is down and has him in third place right now in the floor exercise. David St. Pierre, 20 years old, out of Los Angeles, California, and UCLA.
Okay, there's the full in. Nice landing. Now, if David gets a 9.55 or better, he's actually going to move into the lead. He got a 9.6 in the preliminary round, so we know that he can do it. So far, he is really right on top of the landings. Nice double full. His mount, the full in, he landed perfectly. This young man shows me tremendous potential because I believe he has really nice style, clean execution. He was trained under the same coach as Peter Vidmar, and he has very much similar qualities as Peter. Unique position there and a straddled arm position and straddled leg position on the handstand. He needs to nail this dismount to win this thing. Tuck double back. Boom!
They're on their feet. David St. Pierre, the silver medalist in the all-around, may have the gold. He only needed a 9.50 to grab a share of the lead. A 9.55 would win it.
Here's the double leg circles and then the flared circles. And he's rotating back the opposite direction of the flares. That's called a spindle flare. Invented by a Hungarian gymnast named Zoltán Magyar. He did it on the pommel horse, and of course it's very impressive on the floor. Here's the tuck double back dismount. This is a real key here because this is a difficult dismount. You've got to nail the landing if you're going to do it. And he really handles it beautifully.
He'll have the gold medal. The score a 9.70. David St. Pierre gets the gold medal in the floor exercise in the individual competition. Lance Ringnold and Patrick Kersey wind up with a 9.10, tied for second place in the floor exercise competition. So an outstanding performance for David St. Pierre. His favorite event, the high bar, but right now his favorite, the floor exercise. There are your results. Kersey and Ringnold trailing David St. Pierre. Again, the youngster, only 17, garners the silver, but St. Pierre from UCLA has the gold in the floor exercise. 5 more are yet to come, though, in our coverage of the U.S. Olympic Festival at Gymnastics. Judges did confer. He is not really in position for a medal, possibly right now in third, but still we have David St. Pierre and others to perform, so he's likely out of the medal category. St. Pierre qualified with a 9.60 on Thursday night. He was the silver medalist in the all-around competition.
One thing I like about his style is notice he has nice stretch, really perfect toe point, and excellent difficulty. Bailey pommel loop to a one pommel Russian. Really clean. This is the best I've seen him do his pommel horse. Nice flares with a more. One thing that'll help him score well is the fact that look at his extension and terrific toe point. That's a big factor that the judges are looking at this level. They need to see all the little things done well. What a great routine.
He needs a 9.60, and he's happy, and so is the crowd.
I don't know if he's going to be able to get the 9.6, but I tell you, that was definitely the cleanest routine I've seen him put together in competition.
Yeah, smile, man. Smile, man. Smile, man.
Notice the terrific toe point. Look at how he's nice and stretched way out. Breaks into the flares, of course, that were made famous by Kurt Thomas. Then he does a half turn, flare, more flare. That was also a move that Kurt Thomas contributed to the International Gymnastics program. This was really a clean routine. There's the flare, up to the handstand at the end. Easily done. Best one I've ever seen him do.
Kurt Thomas was last seen, I think, shooting a pilot for a sitcom in Los Angeles. David St. Pierre might likely be on his way to a theatrical career if he should continue the way he's been going here at this U.S. Olympic Festival. He loves to draw. 85 alumnus of Culver City High School in Culver City, California. Needs that 9.60. He qualified with a 9.35 on Thursday night. Finished 8th in the all-around at last year's NCAAs. David has come a long, long way, Bart. He's really improved his level.
He's obviously pleased with his performance here. It's really nice to see David really shine here because he had a rough time at the U.S. Championships, not placing as well as he would like to have. And yet here he's one of the stars, and I think he's really taking advantage of the opportunity and the attention, and it's definitely spurring him on to a terrific performance.
David St. Pierre's score, a 9.25, not enough to take the lead, but still a good performance for David St. Pierre.
9.525.
No, we've just been corrected. His score was 9.525 rather than 9.25. So we correct that. He needed, though, the 9.60 to take the lead. Bowers still is in front. Chuck Girardo now, out of San Diego, California, and Stanford.
He does the same mount that David St. Pierre did, the backmore pommel loop. He moves very quickly. He's doing some nice combinations. There's the flare up to a handstand. Remember, he doesn't want to check that handstand. And back down into flares. That's a really difficult combination. It is so hard to go up to handstand and then come back down into circles and not break the rhythm. Really nice exercise for Chuck.
A member of the Stanford squad, which finished third in the NCAAs in '86. Scheduled to graduate in 2 years with a degree in biology. He's a happy camper over there with his North members. Needs a 9.50 to take the lead.
Here he does loop around to a handstand, legs together, which is a D move for a dismount, and a really nice finish to a strong exercise. He's conferring with Mike Thomas, who's the coach in Tulsa at Omni Gymnastics, the coach of the USA North team here as well.
Inducted into the Olympic sports community. It's called Sports Acrobatics, and we brought with us our four-time national...
Well, Bowers is still right now our leader. We're still waiting on the score for Girardo. He needed a 9.50 to take the gold on the pommel horse. And Bowers was clearly the most dynamic that we saw, and he's likely to be our gold medalist. There's Chuck, who's still anxiously awaiting. There you see a 9.525, and that will be enough to give him the gold medal. So while Bowers was dynamic, Girardo knew what he had to do, and he got it done, Bart.
He really did a nice exercise. It was quick, and it was sharp, and he had all the necessary elements. Very well done.
So it's Chuck Girardo that gets the gold medal, past Mark Bowers on the pommel horse competition, and we'll continue with more gymnastics a bit later. The rings competition underway in the men's individual competition. Tim Brando and Bart Connor alongside. It's Trent Demas with a score of 9.30. That's his total 18.60. Right now he's in third. Neil Palmer has the lead. David St. Pierre is in second. Jay Caputo now, 18 years of age, out of Longwood, Florida.
And he opened his exercise with a perfectly straight front lever and a really nice in-locate back uprise to handstand.
It'll take a 9.45 for him to take the lead.
There's a giant. Now remember, he must control those rings. He can do the swinging elements, but when he is in the hold movements there, he's supposed to keep those rings still. There's an iron cross and a back kip to an L. Now he fulfills the requirement here of doing a press to handstand. That's called a hollow back press. He really needs to extend a little bit more in those handstand positions so the line is better, but a really nice tucked, full-out dismount. Not really high, but clean in the air.
He was swinging and swaying on those still rings as well, a bit like Demas, whom we saw earlier.
Now, Jay doesn't have as long of a body and as big of a swing as you saw from Trent Demas, but he does a good job here on the double whippet because he's very solid. He's strong. And, of course, the combination of double whippet to a cross is definitely a nice series. Here's the bail. 2 flips and 1 twist. Not really high, but he had plenty of rotation to pull it around.
Jay Caputo awaiting his score. Graduated this past spring from high school with a grade point average of 3.5. He wants to own his own business someday. And as has been well documented, he can go well towards having that opportunity with a great gymnastics career. Jay Caputo at only 17 still has that opportunity. Jay's score at 9.25, a cumulative of 18.55. Still quite away from Neil Palmer's score, and that right now is the leading score at 18.70. Here's Chuck Girardo. He took the gold on the pommel horse out of San Diego, California. Chuck qualified with a 9.35. He needs only a 9.25 to take the lead, Bart.
Now, he did a nice mount there, similar to Neil Palmer and David St. Pierre. He did a kip to a straddle flange, but he pressed up to a handstand out of the flange. That's a nice combination showing good strength. There's a move you don't see too often anymore. It's a straddle L. It's not that difficult, but it works really, really nice on the rings. Notice the position in his handstand. His arms are locked out. He's twisted the rings out, so he's trying to keep as good a control as he possibly can. There's a layout double. Good job on the landing. That's going to have to score well because it was clean.
He may be our leader. Listen to the crowd. The straddle L. Now, you say it's easy, but yet we haven't seen much of it here, and the crowd really reacted favorably.
You know, in gymnastics, there are certain tricks that are sort of in trend. And the straddle L was used quite a bit a few years ago. Not too many people do it these days. And yet, I don't know why, because it's a really good-looking position when you have nice extension, good toe point. And, of course, he pressed up to handstand. Here's the dismount. It's a laid-out double back. Pretty good form, maybe a little sloppy in the toe point, but let me tell you, it's hard to point your toes when you're worried about 2 flips in the straight position.
Chuck Girardo. With the artwork on the t-shirt and the lead now. Was all he needed to take the lead, and he got a 9.50 for a total of 18.85. That gives him the lead by 15/100ths of a point over Neil Palmer. Now Michael Chaplin from UCLA. He had a 9.55 to qualify. He needs a 9.35 to take the lead.
Mike is definitely our favored performer here. He's very solid on the rings. He's done well in NCAA and U.S. gymnastics competition. He's really, really strong in the upper body. You can see there he does a front lever. And notice on his kip position, different from Palmer and St. Pierre, he's very tight, very solid, and great strength work pressing to a handstand. There's the whippet, swing to a handstand, good control. So far, he is right on. Little bobble in that handstand, that'll be 1/10 of a point, but that's the only deduction so far. Another whip it to a back up rise handstand in the tuck position this time. He's got to control those rings. Layout double and a perfect landing.
He finished with some Bruin pride. For a long time, the champions certainly in the hunt for NCAA titles year after year.
Here's the giant, forward giant swing to a piked whippet to a swing handstand. A really nice combination. Good extension, toe point, nice position in the handstand. Now here's where he follows up with a double whippet in the tuck position and a backup rise to handstand. He almost lost it there in that handstand, but he is so strong in the upper body. He was able to control it and bail away for the layout double back.
And he gets a 9.50. Michael Chaplin with that score after qualifying with a 19.55 is in good shape and now has the lead. Michael Chaplin. The dismount and the mount certainly helped him a great deal, and he is our leader. The 19.05 total. Well, he was a little shaky, as you mentioned, at times, but he does have the lead right now on the still rings and does have the gold medal. Chuck Girardo the silver, Neil Palmer the bronze.
And we do ballet bar basically for about half an hour to 45 minutes every day. And we work on our pirouettes and, our flexibility. At first I was in ice skating, and I also took soccer, and I was into lots of different sports. And then I was taking artistic gymnastics, and I really liked floor exercise. And in ice skating, I liked the movement and the dance. And so in rhythmic gymnastics, there was a combination of everything. And I'd never had formal dance training, but from then on, I wanted to dance, and so I took rhythmic gymnastics.
To describe the sport is a floor exercise, which is familiar to most of the Americans in artistic gymnastics, working with apparatus, not on apparatus, like a hoop, rope, clubs, and ribbon. These 4 Olympic apparatus that will gymnasts use for Olympics, and that's what they use now. And it's done to music, to the music that they choose with the coach and the pianist. It's allowed to have some pre-acrobatic elements that we call. And then you watch for flexibility, you watch for expressions and difficulty that the gymnast does with apparatus.
Routines, I try to keep consistency, catch all my elements, and not lose balance and not make mistakes. And when you get to be a higher level of competition, that's really important that you do all those things and yet look confident and not nervous, which is something I've really had to overcome because I never performed really in front of people, and that's what has made it difficult for me. That's one of the hardest things for me to do, and that's what Irina has me work on, I think, the most.
We're talking?
You go.
was injured, a small fracture of the first cervical vertebra. Doctors say she'll be all right. She's having to wear that neck collar for about 2 to 6 weeks. But all the folks back in Blue Springs, Mo, take heed. She's all right and will return. And she did, by the way, after receiving that first cervical vertebra crack for the moment, come back and hit the vault for a 9.1. And then doctor said, let's go check it out, and she'll be okay. We begin now with Tim Ryan, who qualified with a 9.30.
Okay, now there is a vault called a handspring front.
Tim Ryan.
Position. That vault is worth a 9.4. All the vaults have a difficulty rating. This competition is a little bit different than the normal finals competition, where you usually see the gymnasts performing in 2 vaults. In this competition, they're just doing 1 vault today. It's competition 1B, or the same as they use in the all-around. Here's the handspring front. Gets his heels up. Pretty nice position off the horse. Really nice position in the air. And he opens up just a hair early because he's trying to stick it. And he did a good job in staying on his feet, because it's easy to sit down on that vault. Coming in forward is a blind landing.
Pretty well-developed youngster for only 16, out of Bartonsville, Pennsylvania, the International Gymnastics School there. Attends Southern Lehigh High in Center Valley, Pennsylvania. He'll graduate from there this coming year. He's got a lot of power, Bart.
And he is very strong. It's unusual to see a gymnast that has his young age that is that strong physically.
9.10. You saw his combined. Now Lance Rignall, who has certainly been the young star here in the men's competition. He qualified second. He needs just that 9.10 to take the lead. He qualified with a 9.35 on Thursday night in the all-around.
We mentioned at the top of the show that he's a very strong tumbler and vaulter. Let's see what he can put together today. Oh, nice vault and a right lander.
He told me before we got started today that he was surprised he got the bronze. He's a humble youngster. He's just having a good time. He feels no pressure whatsoever.
And generally, when you find a guy who's a great tumbler, he's also a great vaulter, and you have a terrific combination like Robert Sundstrom here in Lance Rignall. Look at how easily he does this. This vault is very difficult for most gymnasts, and let alone a young 17-year-old gymnast who's doing a Kasamatsu in the sort of a laid-out pike position, and really, it's so easy on the landing. Tough stuff. There he goes, pushing up into the air. Really nice position, and you can see he's looking for the floor, and he takes 1 small hop on the landing. That vault's going to score well.
That wasn't a vault. It was a lesson in aerodynamics. It was incredible how he was able to just push himself up as quickly as he did. And you said he doesn't shy away from any of the degree of difficulty, and he's so young, just 17. The 9.50 gives him the lead, and the lead by a bundle, 18.85, a good 45 hundredths of a point beyond Ryan, who was our first vaulter. Now David St. Pierre, he needs a 9.55 to take the lead. He's had an outstanding day.
He really has, and he's going to do a tucked cuervo, I believe. That's what he used in the all-around competition. Okay, 1 step on the landing, but this is a very, very difficult vault that he tried.
Handspring with a half twist and a back flip. All of that combined is called a cuervo.
When you're only doing 1 vault versus the 2, Bart, are you a little more conservative here? Do you hold back maybe a bit?
Well, generally what the gymnasts are doing, in order to score well in the finals, we're all looking for that stuck landing. You really have to nail it. They pick the vaults that they have a good shot at nailing, and definitely David St. Pierre has been known to nail this vault. He took a short step on this one, but let's see what happens here. He does a handspring. Now he's going to do a half turn into a backflip, and he looks for the landing. He's really square to the horse. Maybe just a little low in his chest on the landing, but that is a really, really tough vault to do that cleanly in the air.
Art Sherlock, his coach at UCLA, has got to be pleased. He's been doing a lot of waving, giving some AOKs and thumbs up today here in the men's gymnastics individual. He gets a 9.35. His total 18.70. Not enough to get past Rignall, but he does move into second place. Robert Sundstrom qualified first, with a vault of 9.55. He needs the 9.35.
Wait till you see this vault. This is outrageous. Handspring, pike through it, and he stuck it. That's what we've been waiting to see.
That should do it.
That's a handspring front with a 1.5 twist, the most difficult vault done in the world today. Robert Sundstrom.
No longer does he think about that floor exercise. He was favored both in the floor exercise and in this event. He certainly nailed this one.
This is one of the most difficult vaults being done in the world today. Handspring, front in the pike position, and watch this. He cranks 1.5 twists and looks for the ground. Let me tell you, that's a lot of flipping and twisting to get in before you land on your feet. And, of course, he stuck the landing. That's going to score big time.
Coached by Sho Fukushima at UC Berkeley. Solid gymnast in almost every respect. He's one of those that could make that push towards 88. Most of these are juniors and even seniors that really realistically have the 90 World Championships on their mind, maybe 92. You think ahead that far when you're 15 or 16 years of age, and many of these kids do. But some of them really believe they have a shot of making our national team by the Olympics. And Sundstrom and Palmer are two examples of the consistency that it takes to get there.
And David St. Pierre as well. I think Mike Chaplin, all those gymnasts are training with their sights set on having a terrific competition at the Olympic trials. There are probably 20 guys who might be able to make that team, but you're not going to edge out Scott Johnson's and Tim Daggett's too easily, let me tell you.
We'll wait for the score. We know it'll be good, and he'll probably be in first on his way to the gold here in the vault competition at the Olympic Festival. 9.7. Here in the vault competition, Michael Chaplin is next up from UCLA. Qualified sixth with a 9.25. He needs the perfect 10.
Hey, nice vault. That was a Sukahara full in the laid-out position. I think that's the best vault I've seen him do. He handled the landing very well. I don't think that's your perfect 10. I hate running down that vaulting runway knowing that you got to get a 10 just to keep in the running. But I tell you, I think he did that vault as well as he can possibly do it.
Well, it can be a humbling experience also after watching Sundstrom nail his. You realize, hey, I've got to show well whether I get the 10 or not.
Let's see what happens here now. He comes in with good speed, tremendous push off the horse, full turn in the laid out position, and he lands in good position. One big hop on the landing, which will be a 10th or 2 of a deduction, but that is a tough vault.
There he is waiting for his score. His brother Kelly is a gymnast at the University of Arizona. Michael out of Los Angeles and a part of a couples team that's been widely talked about here. Tanya Service, who is on the South team for the women, 22 years of age. She and Michael are a bit of an item here and have been talked about. Spent some time together after. Tanya had a difficult time on the parallel bars last night, and he took some time to console her afterwards. You see that many times in sports, where you have both male and female competition within, and there's his score. Not bad, 9.425, and that should put him in the medal hunt. Michael Chaplin in certainly a good position. Patrick Kirksey now from Tucker, Georgia, and the University of Nebraska. He qualified second here on the vault. He'll need a good one here.
Now, right about this point, the gymnast is thinking, okay, good speed. Make sure you really explode off the horse. Try and spot that landing.
He'll need a 9.95.
Now, that's how you stick a landing. His feet did not move one bit. I tell you what, I don't think he could have asked for it to go any better than that. Look at that.
So what if it's not a 10? I stuck that landing. The landing scored a 10, Bart. He visualizes each one of his performances, and there's that intensity.
Oh, yeah. You know, right before he goes, you can feel that energy and that intensity because he knows what he has to do. He has to have good speed, good height, and right now he's thinking, get up in the air half front in the pike position, and this thing is so hard to land because you don't see the floor till right there. And look at that. His feet did not move one bit.
Score for Pat Kirksey, 9.5.
Tremendous concentration, good push in the air. Boom. Nice landing.
And Patrick Kirksey, who says that he visualizes all of his performances on each 6 of the Apparatus before he goes to bed at night, scores the 9.50, and Kirksey will finish with Lance Rignold tied for second. The youngster Rignold is there again, but Robert Sundstrom nails the gold, and he was favored in the men's vault competition here at the U.S. Olympic Festival. Art Connor and I will return. Some of the best we have to offer here in the United States. Neil Palmer, David St. Pierre, Lance Rignold, Robert Sundstrom, Trent Demas, and Stuart Butler. And look at that, Bart. 15 100ths of a point separate all 6. So this is truly a wide open field, perhaps the most wide open we've had to this juncture.
Yeah, it's really going to come down to who does the cleanest exercise. You can't give away those valuable tenths of a point.
David St. Pierre from UCLA, who has been shining throughout this day. He qualified second for the parallel bars with a score of 9.50. He already has a gold, and he also has a silver today. He also got the silver in the all-around competition behind Neil Palmer. So everyone back in Los Angeles is quite happy. You'll have a heavy neck going back to the West Coast.
One of the reasons why I think David shows such terrific potential, as I mentioned earlier, is his technical expertise. But also, he's very strong in the compulsory exercises. Now, in the Olympic Festival, these gymnasts are not competing in the compulsory exercises, and that's a terrific advantage for David. It's nice to see that even though we're just doing the optional exercises, he is really holding his own and looks really solid.
Usually the parallel bars, when you find that an athlete scores well there, if a gymnast does an outstanding job there, then that just strengthens his confidence when they move to the next competition. And in the case here of St. Pierre, as will be the case in Lance Rignold, they'll have an opportunity to move from here to the high bar, and that's a dynamic competition. So doing well here might mean a lot not only for this competition, but for the next one over on the high bar.
There's a nice mount, straddle cut on the end, flares up to a handstand. Now this is nice. He's doing some really interesting work way out on the end of the bars. A giant with a half turn. A move called a peach glide kip back into the middle. Notice how really tight he is. Nice body line, perfect toe point. There's a reverse stutz to a straddle cut. He's shown a nice combination of swinging elements, strength elements, and a press to a handstand. Good balance. There's his tuck double back with perfect form.
What a routine. The crowd loves it, and so does Dave. An economics and business major at UCLA. Be counting up his gold today. He's had an outstanding afternoon here at the Olympic Festival.
Once again, here is the mount. The flares on the end. Those are moves, of course, made famous by Kurt Thomas on the pommel horse. They're done on the floor and, of course, now on the end of the parallel bars. And he presses through a plunge up to a handstand. Pirouette. Now watch this. This is a giant swing. Oh, not a giant swing. This is a little later in the exercise. Front uprise. Reverse stutz. Really nice position there. That's a tough move. And straddle cut to a really tight position on the L. This is the best part of the exercise as far as I'm concerned. Look at this double back. Perfect form. Knees together. He's pulling it around. He lands really in excellent position to stick the landing.
That seems to be one of the real advantages for St. Pierre. In every performance today, he has really stuck the landing. The entries to those landings have been outstanding. Dismounts have been his strength. And his score, 9.475. Add that to the 9.50 on Thursday, and his cumulative 18.975. Now the closed fist. Well, we've seen almost every other side from David today. Trent Demas from Albuquerque, New Mexico, whose brother Ted is also in this competition. 9.60 to take the lead. He qualified with a 9.40. He's got that angular quality here on the parallel bars.
And he shows a tremendous amount of difficulty for a gymnast at such young age. There's a look at the giant swings. 2 in a row, and the second one with a half turn. That's a really nice combination.
His shins actually hit the mat there.
Yeah, you actually drag your toes just a little bit. It's really hard to keep your feet off the floor, but as long as it's not a real obvious brush with the floor, you can usually get by without getting a deduction on that move. Oh, he must not give away a 1/10 of a point like he did there in that press to handstand by checking his handstand, and a pike double back dismount. That's what you need to see.
Leading the South team in high fives given, Trent Demas.
Great career.
Here are those giant swings that started the competition for Trent.
Now, these moves were invented by Eizo Kenmotsu from Japan in 1978 when he won the World Championships on parallel bars. They're a little controversial because you do have to bend your knees going through the bottom, but the judges do allow that at minor form deduction because of the type of element they're doing. This is a terrific dismount. It's a pike double back. His legs are a little bit apart, but that is a very difficult dismount to do at the end of the exercise when you're tired, and he handled it very well.
Trent's father, a gold gloves boxer in his younger days. Now a karate expert, so you know that they spar at times and check for flexibility. Trent Demas flexes his muscles with a 9.50. That gives him a cumulative score of 18.90, still behind St. Pierre. Now, Tim Ryan, who needs a 9.6 to take the lead.
It's a mount called a peach reverse, a peach straddle cut. 2 of those moves in a row were called stutzes. Front toss and a straddle cut to an L. Press to a handstand and a reverse pirouette and a pike double back again. It's so nice to see these young guys challenging the big moves. That pike double back, as I mentioned, is tough to do at the end of the exercise, and he seemed like no problem.
Ryan, like Demas, just 16, from Martinsville, Pennsylvania, trains at the International Gymnastics School there. His only international competition in '87, when the United States took on Australia in the junior men at Colorado Springs. He was second in that all-around national competition.
Once again, here's the pike double back. Really tight pike. Not too high, a little over-rotated because he piked so tight, he flipped very quickly. Maybe 2/10 of a point for the dismount for the deductions for taking the steps. But still, it's nice to see him challenging the big difficulty.
9.35 for Tim Ryan. And now it's perhaps the star of stars among our teenage group, Lance Rignall. Today, and today only, he has a silver in the vault, a silver on the floor. He was also the bronze medalist in the all-around. Just 17 years old. He needs a 9.55 to take the lead. And so far, he has looked at all of his big tests with no problem whatsoever.
There's a straddle plunge on the end. A giant front uprise into the middle. Well, that's kind of a neat move. A stutz to a 1-bar handstand, and he got back into the center rails maybe too early, but it's a unique element. There's a Diamondov. Front toss. Oh. He did a front toss, pushed away to a glide kick, and caught his feet as he went through the bottom. That'll be a major deduction. Nice tight stutz. And again, a pike double back. I am so impressed with these young gymnasts doing the pike double backs at the end of the routine.
Had some problems on this apparatus, but so far so good as far as his mindset.
Here he does, front uprise, front toss. Everything looks pretty good. He pushes away for the glide kick, and unfortunately, he really gave away a major deduction by dragging his feet on the glide kick. he knows at that point that he better really nail this dismount. And, of course, he does it. The handstand pike double back, once again, really pulls it around. And boom. That's a nice landing.
One of the things that may help Rignauld pass some of the other youngsters is he does have a wealth of international experience. Yet he told me, I'm still so surprised to be where I am here at the U.S. Olympic Festival. 9.15 is score for a total of 18.60 for the youngster from Albuquerque. Now Robert Sundstrom, who needs a 9.55 to get the lead. He qualified third in this competition.
There's a reverse straddle cut to a handstand. A little bit of a check on the handstand. That's a Healy twirl. 2 in a row. Really nice high-level difficulty movements. A little loose on the stutz. And there's a Diamondov. So far, he's shown really nice work above the rails. L press to a handstand. And a tuck double back. Oh, over-rotated about 3 steps. Maybe 3/10 of a point. The rest of the exercise was very good.
5'7" tall from San Jose, Robert Sundstrom.
Now you can see right here, he does the stutz. It's a half turn, swing up, hold that handstand. And now he's going to do the Diamondov. It's basically the same movement, but you'll see what he does here is he hangs on with his left arm, wraps back inside another half turn, so it's like a stutz with another half turn. Lay away and front up rise out of that. Here's the dismount from the handstand. He does a tuck double back. And he isn't that high, but he really knows how to flip. And unfortunately, he pulled it way too far over, and 3/10 of a point for those deductions.
Sundstrom already has the gold in the vault. We await his score on the parallel bars. And our top qualifier, Neil Palmer, is on the way. .325 and his total 18.775. And now the attention will shift to our top qualifier, Neil Palmer, who qualified with a 9.55 in the parallel bars on Thursday. He needs now a 9.45 to claim the gold medal. He was our gold medalist in the all-around on Thursday.
And remember, from the all-around competition, he does a really nice sequence out here on the end of the bars. That'll get him some originality points. Now watch this. Circles, flares.
He's bringing the house down.
They love this work. Now wait till they see this out on the end, a Diamondov. Woo-hoo. Nice work. There's the Healy twirl. He did that better than he did in the all-around competition. Straddle plunge. He should have held that a little bit longer. But still, so far, everything's good. There's a back with a full. 1 half on the landing.
That one's for you, Mom. It's Yvonne's birthday back in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Neil Palmer, ladies and gentlemen.
I really like to see gymnasts look at that strain as he pulls around there on the peach straddle cut. I really like to see gymnasts trying completely different things. You don't usually see gymnasts work out on the end of the bars, especially this creatively. Double leg circles, flares. And of course, he swung up the handstand. In the middle of the exercise, there's the Healy twirl. He did that better there without clipping his heels, as he did in the all-around competition. There's the straddle cut, the plunge. He's got to hold that for, well, he doesn't really have to hold it for 2 seconds, but if he wants the requirement, he does need to hold it, or it's a change of rhythm and certainly an extra swing in the exercise. Here's the dismount. It's not a very difficult dismount. It's a backflip with a full twist. But one thing that Neil Palmer gives you is really clean form in the air, and that counts for a lot.
His score, a 9.625. And yes, another gold medal here at the U.S. Olympic Festival. A total of 19.175. David St. Pierre, who's having a great day, will wind up with the silver medal. And Trent Demas, who had a fine performance as well, will wind up in third and garner the bronze. So Neil Palmer from Lincoln, Nebraska, the all-around winner, has the gold on the parallel bars. And guess what's coming up next? His best, the high bar. And along with Bart Connor. And this is a dynamic competition that we have coming up. And the finalists, Neil Palmer, David St. Pierre, Lance Rignall, Chuck Girardo, Jared Hanks, and young Darren Elge, the Peter Vidmar lookalike. And boy, will you be able to tell a bit later. We begin with Jared Hanks, 17 years of age, out of Waco, Texas. Qualified fourth.
Jared's going to be attending the University of Oklahoma next year, my old alma mater, who of course has had a pretty good gymnastics program for quite some time. He shows the Eagle Giant swings. There's the release move, really nice and high. Ginger to backflip with a half turn regrasp. And another one, and he's outside too far. Whew. Baby, I tell you, was that a bounce when he came down or what?
Listen to the crowd from North Carolina try to pick him up. They've been that way all week, though. They will break attendance records in United States gymnastics history by the time tomorrow comes to a conclusion.
Let's see what happens here. He does the Ginger. It's a backflip with a half turn. And he's just too far outside, boy. And I'll tell you one thing. He must have bounced a foot off the floor, but the gymnasts know what to do when they're falling. They know how to handle it. Okay, he's back on the exercise. Three giants to a laid out double full out. What a nice dismount. Laid out, double flip with two twists. That baby's hard.
Feels a lot better now, doesn't it, Jared? He was more embarrassed than anything else. He actually came down spread eagle on the mat, so you know he couldn't have been hurt. Perhaps his pride, that was about all. And then to come back up and nail that dismount has to mean a lot to the 17-year-old.
These gymnasts are pretty tough because he fell probably from about, I'd say 10, 11, 12 feet in the air, landed right on his chest, and yet the gymnasts have done these moves thousands of times. So they know how to handle themselves when they're falling. They know how to brace themselves and prepare for a crash landing.
Jared Hanks, 135 pounds. He used all of it on the high bar a couple of times, really. Scored the 9.10. Now, Chuck Girardo, qualified fourth. He needs just a 9.15 to take the lead here.
All right. Stalder's forward grip, mixed grip Stalder. Oh, he's a little crooked on that pirouette. He was attempting a really difficult move. There's two one-arm giants in a row. There's the requirement of the eagle grip or L grip giant swing. Another back Stalder. He's very strong in the Stalder position, so he's using that straddle giant swing to his advantage. Nice release move of Ginger. He was in a little close, but he continued the rhythm of the exercise. He's back into giant swings. Laid out double. One hop on the landing.
He already has one gold medal on the pommel horse today. Chuck Girardo from San Diego, California, a member of the Stanford team.
Okay, he's in giant swings here. Good stretch over the top of the bar. There's the Ginger. Back flip, half twist. Now watch, he's in pretty close. But he does a nice job at pushing that thing away from the bar and continuing the motion of the exercise. You must not stop, ever. Here's the dismount. Good speed here. He lets go. He kind of slung it out a little bit. I think he could have hung on a little bit longer. If he would have, he wouldn't have been under-rotated as he is here, having to take one big hop on the landing.
Chuck Gerardo, like many others, very, very good on this apparatus. We're seeing really, Bart, you talk about, well, some of these guys rated somewhere between 18 and 30 at the national level, but you go over to the high bars and you've got guys that's second, third, fourth overall on this apparatus. His score there, just a 9.20, good enough for the moment to take the lead, but he knows all too well what's in store from Demas, Rignall, St. Pierre, and yes, this man, Neil Palmer. Qualified first with a 9.75. Look out, Lincoln, Nebraska. Here comes Neil again.
These next 4 performances on the high bar are going to be outrageous, whether they make the routines or not. They're doing really good difficulty, excellent form. Oh, no! He handled it. He did the front giant swing pirouette, and he was really crooked on that Ginger, but he did handle it. Inverted giant swings. Here he gets set up for his dismount. Should be a tucked full out. Oh!
And you wonder if he ever really completely recovered, Bart. He did recover on the Ginger, as you called it, but was his confidence level shaken throughout the rest of the performance?
Well, to tell you the truth, I think Neil had such a great meet in the optional all-around competition that here today in the finals, I've seen him look much sharper. He looks a little sluggish today. Right here, of course, he didn't get out over the top on that pirouette, so he's really crooked. It's amazing that he was able to even make that trick. That baby's tough. Now here on the dismount, once again, he nailed this perfectly for a 9.75 in the all-around competition, but he just seems to me that he's out of juice.
He looks like...
twist a little early.
He's grimacing there, Bart. His
little
face...
shorter rotation, and he knew that he was in trouble when he let go.
As he was twirling around, you could see pain etched on his face about the first or second turn as he prepared for that dismount.
I think he's just shot.
Yeah. Neil Palmer with a score of 8.80, a total of 18.55. And now David St. Pierre. He has a gold on the floor, silver on the parallel bars, a bronze on the pommel horse, and he was second in the all-around.
And I love his style here. He's very crisp, tight form on the stallers. Now watch these releases. Reverse hex, right on into giant swings. One-arm giant swing over the top to a Ginger. Perfect. This is good stuff. He has terrific amplitude above the bar, and all the while throughout the exercise, he's showing crisp form, nice tight turns. This is good stuff. Laid out double back.
He already has the trifecta. He's going for the quad today. We'll have to go a long way to beat this.
I've been saying all day long, he is so sharp technically. Here on the giant swings, good speed, perfect body position in the layout double. He pulls it around, you can see him spotting the floor. Maybe just a little bit over-rotated from having too much juice. On the release moves, you can see here, he does the reverse hecht. Nice position. Look at that clean form over the top of the bar, and it is tough to push that out and swing giant swings out of that. He did it easily. He goes over the top, sets up with the one arm here.
Score 9.
Once again, really nice form and really crisp position over the bar. He is up there on this release, probably about 5 feet above the bar, which is 8 feet above the ground, so we're talking 13 feet in the air, and he handles it beautifully.
David St. Pierre, the only gymnast to qualify in all 6 categories, has a 9.725. He's going for his 4th medal today. Hill, Tim Brando and Bart Connor, and we're on the high bar. Trent Demas, I beg your pardon, from Albuquerque. This is his favorite, and it is wild.
He does one of the most outrageous routines. Watch the big swing, in-bar stalder. Look at the stalder work. Nice combinations. One-arm combination. Ginger way up over the bar. Oh, that's a nice move. Stoop into eagle giant swings. Okay, now watch the speed. Ready for this dismount. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
He's in his own stratosphere. They're singing Sweet 16 here at the gymnastics venue. Trent Demas, just 16 years old, and he was in the Demas zone on that dismount.
Okay, you can see here he does one-arm giant swing combination with a twist. Now look at this Ginger. We're talking about being up there. He's like 7 feet over the bar, maybe 15 feet in the air, and he broke a little bit of form there, but it was an outrageous move. Now watch this. This is the triple. He's going to get some tremendous speed on his giant swings. Crank that thing around. Spot the landing after 3 flips. Look, he's dropping out of the sky. Just a little opened up just a little bit early. One more time. You can see the tremendous height as he pulls around 1, 2, 3 times over the top, and look at him dropping from maybe 7 feet in the air to plant that in for a strong landing.
Trent Demas from Albuquerque, New Mexico. And his score, a 9.775 to give him a total of 19 75/100ths of a point, still behind St. Pierre, who has a cumulative total of 19.375. Now, Lance Ringnauld, just 17, needs a 9.85 to grab the gold.
Once again, the youngsters look really good in challenging the big difficulty. Lance does the one-arm giant swing. Now watch his series of release moves here. Reverse hecht. Clean. Reverse hecht. To a Ginger. 3 in a row. That's the trend now. Inverted giant swings. So far, really clean. Here's the dismount.
He flipped over a car when he was 9. He could flip over a Mack truck today.
Now this is definitely the trend in gymnastics here. He does 3 release moves in a row. Reverse hecht, to a Ginger. Now the Ginger was a little low, but that is such a tough combination. He did it with perfect form throughout. The dismount is beautiful. This is a laid out double backflip with a full twist on the second flip. Off the perfect body position, full twist right there. And look at him land that thing.
And a 9.80, good enough to bring him to 25/100ths of a point away from the gold medalist. David St. Pierre will take the gold. Lance Ringnauld, in case you perhaps missed it, he was hit while riding a bike when he was only 9 years old, flipped over the car, never touched it, hit head-on almost at a 90-degree angle, saw himself about to hit the car and just hit the jettison. And he's never stopped jumping. Now with a silver medal on the high bar. David St. Pierre's the star, though. 4 medals today. He gets the gold in this apparatus.